Hello and welcome to the very first vlog for our Narrowboat home. A little bit of background for you. Richie's owned Sapphire for the last 11 years and he did live aboard full time. We have been together for 5 years and when he met me I wasn't able to move onto the boat, so Richie moved in with me in my rental property. We were there for 5 years quite happily, and then just after Christmas this year we were served notice to leave because the owners wanted to sell the property, so we had no choice, we had to move out. We did consider other rental properties, but then we had a further talk about it and thought, well, maybe actually it's time for us to both move over onto the boat. I started getting prepared, packing and doing all the things you need to do when you're moving out of a house, and Richie decided to come over to the boat and do some of the work that needed to be done on it. Sapphire's a 99 Dave Clark boat, so she's over 20 years old now, so she's in need of a little TLC, shall we say. He decided to do some of the jobs that we've been putting off before I moved on, like laying a new floor throughout, and I'd just got in the way. While we were doing that, lockdown happened, so I was stuck at the house and couldn't move out, and Richie was on the boat and couldn't come back to the house. And that was a particularly difficult time, but we got through it, and once lockdown was eased we were able to get me moved onto the boat, and we've been doing bits of maintenance and bits and pieces ever since. We're currently moored at Marina. It's a non-residential mooring, but we do spend a lot of time here. We need to be here because of commitments. We need to be able to use the electricity for power tools, and we also need access to vehicles so that we can get materials and things that we need to finish our refurbishments. We are also heading into winter time now. It's nearing the end of October, so it's not really the weather to be going out continuous cruising, which is what we intend to do, but it's just not quite the right time, so you know, bear with us with that one. Thank you so much for watching so far. I hope you enjoy the very first one. Bye for now.
It was great living on the outskirts of Chester. Everything was near and close to hand. The house was great, the rooms were lovely and big, and there was lots of room for everything. They were also very light and airy. The house had a lovely garden, which I was especially grateful for during lockdown as a place to escape. And so it was time to go. It was so weird to see the house soulless, bare and empty, leaving only memories like ghosts. It was almost as if we had never lived there. The time had come to close the front door of number 26 for the final time. It was the end of an era. It was the beginning of a new chapter in the house's history. And time to start a new life aboard Sapphire. And here she is, introducing Sapphire on Narrowboat Home. Sapphire is currently moored at Marina, and it's an absolutely beautiful place. The facilities are really good here. There's showers, you can wash and dry your clothes, there's an Elson, diesel and gas. It's got a great little cafe and bar, and they serve really good food here. The jetty has an array of different types of boats, all ages, shapes, colours, styles and artwork. Canal boats really are as individual as their owners. right at the end of the jetty is our little piece of paradise. We're really lucky to have our mooring near the end of the jetty. It's so quiet and peaceful. The first thing we did when we moved aboard was to get a new member of the crew. Meet Captain Geoffrey, the NarrowDog. He's a whippet and his snoot is always leading to mischief. Being an older puppy, it's going to take Jeff a little longer maybe to settle in. He's used to house life. It's all very strange living on a narrowboat. We decided to take the boat out, so this would be Geoffrey's first real test as a NarrowDog, his maiden voyage. It's just a short journey down to the Shady Oak pub a few miles out of the Marina. It's a very popular place to moor, possibly because there are no locks on the stretch. It's our first bridge. Geoffrey seemed to be enjoying himself. He was taking it all in his stride. So fast he's almost going to sleep, I think.
I know he is. He's thinking about it, isn't he?
Yeah.
Tell me that good sniff. Good boy. We normally have cakes and biscuits and sandwiches and cups of tea, Geoffrey.
Geoffrey seems to be enjoying canal life as much as we do. It wasn't long at all before we reached the Shady Oak. But before we could go to the pub, we had to cruise down to the winding hole, turn about, before we could moor up for the night. Fish and chips and a few beers, and it's time for bed. In the morning we decided to head back the way we came a little way and moor under the shade of some lovely old trees for a bit of shelter. The plan was a little bit of maintenance to the paintwork.
It's not all nature. There's work to be done. Whilst you're working hard away, there's always somebody in the background stealing your thunder. Sorry, Canal and River Trust. It was an ant's nest.
It'd been really hot and humid the last few days and we'd had a lot of thunderstorms. as blue skies gave way to grey. We were in for one of the biggest storms in a very long time. As the storm progressed, the sky began to take on an unearthly orange hue.
As darkness fell, the storm raged on.
By the morning, the storm had cleared and the sunrise was absolutely glorious. And after a fine, full English, we were ready to start our day. The coal boat arrived, so we decided to order a few supplies while it was passing. Before we leave, it's a quick pit stop for Geoffrey, and then it's time to get back to the marina. Although we love the marina, we do love our little escapes. It's always a little sad when we have to come back. Quite calm on the cut, as it's quite sheltered, but as soon as we hit the open waters of the marina, we know it's going to be pot luck if we can get into our mooring without several attempts. The wind sweeps us like a big sail.
Getting onto the jetty, that's a different matter altogether. This is attempt number 3 or 4. The wind here is consistently an absolute pain. Getting into your mooring, well, it's an art.
With the wind against us, Sapphire was wedged between the jetty and jackdaw.
Usually, one of our neighbours is around to give us a hand. In this case, it's Jim.
After a bit of a struggle, we managed to get her in a berth at last. Poor old Morso that served the boat faithfully each winter for very many years had sadly deteriorated so badly it needed replacing. So on a baking hot summer's day began the arduous task of disassembling it. So on to tiling, overseen by Captain Geoffrey, of course. In order to fit the larger flue for our new stove, Richie had to get to work with the angle grinder. I was rather worried that those beautiful firefly-like sparks could catch inside the boat and cause a fire. Extinguishers to hand, just in case. The angle grinder is extremely noisy, but nothing disturbs a Whippet's afternoon nap. Time to fit the roof collar, making sure the underneath was treated for rust and painted, and then some sealant to keep the rain out. time for Richie to have a cup of tea and put his feet up while I get the dinner on. Tonight we're having roasted butternut squash, and I previously made some paprika mince. That just needed reheating and we were good to go. As we settle in the cratch to eat our dinner, we watch the sun gently start to dip, its beautiful deep orange gold glow gently burnishing the water. As the sun continues its journey below the horizon, the fish begin to rise and start to feed. The predator fish are also on the hunt for food. A small fish leaps for its life. In hot pursuit is a hungry pike. We love to sit here and watch the world go by. I'm so glad we made the cratch into a lovely usable space to eat in or enjoy a cup of coffee or maybe something a little stronger to round off the evening. Along the side of the boat, small fish feed on algae growing below the waterline. They're a good 6 inches long, but I've no idea what kind of fish they are. The light is fading fast now. It's another busy day ahead. Time to put the bed up and relax. In the morning, we woke to the splendid sight of a kingfisher digesting his catch, perched on jackdaw. He stayed there for long enough to rid himself of the fish bones before flying off to hunt some more. No Sunday lying for Richie and I, but I think Geoffrey's got other ideas. Quick breakfast of pancakes this morning. Beware, a whippet snoot is never far away from your food. Breakfast all done, and it's time to get on with installing the flue. Richie's just making sure everything fits correctly before putting on the locking bands. After weeks of delays, the fire is finally ready to light. Well done, Richie, the whole thing was a bit of a slog. But it's not the time to sit and admire the fire. Geoffrey needs his evening walk. One of his favourite places to go is the field next to the marina. There's plenty of room for zoomies when the mood takes him. So after a very long wait, it was time to light the fire.
Go on.
The fire's going well and there doesn't appear to be any smoke coming from anywhere. That's a good sign. It was still lovely outside, so while Richie put the bed up, I went and stood out on the jetty for a while. Darkness began to fall. It started to feel a little chilly, so it's time to head indoors. Well, the bed's up, but a cheeky whippet always seems to get the best spot first.